Hi, I'm Jay Faulkner. I'm a member of the OpenStack Vulnerability Management Team, the Ironic Security Liaison, and an open source developer at G Research Open Source Software. Ironic recently published a security bug report on May the 8th. It was assigned CVE 2025-44021, and it's our first OSSA or OpenStack security announcement of the year. So I just wanted to take a few minutes and just talk to you about this, let you know if you're vulnerable or if you're not, and how to get your fix in place. So, first of all, as with many of our OpenStack bugs, we have an embargo period that we follow. This was done this way. So, we did our typical embargo process, discovered about a week and a half ago. We went through and got the patches written and then announced it separately so that we could lessen the amount of time between vulnerability announcement and you being able to patch. So if you're not patched, you're already behind a little bit, but that may not matter. So let's talk a little bit about what the bug is. So what we discovered was we were looking at the image handling code in Ironic, and Ironic will let you take images from lots of sources. If you're using Ironic with Nova, like most people who use an integrated OpenStack installation does, then you're not susceptible to this at all because you're using our glance method for image storage. So just, your image source is a glance UUID. We go get it from glance for you, download it. If you're using it that way and you do not have any users at all who have direct access to your Ironic API, you're not susceptible to this vulnerability. But for people who don't use integrated OpenStack, who are using Ironic standalone or maybe with Metal Cube, we provide alternate sources for those images to be pulled down from because those users might not have a glance. I'm going to say might not even have a keystone. They might not have any other OpenStack pieces at all. So we support you just giving us a URL for that. And today we support HTTP, HTTPS, and file URLs. And a file URL is actually talking about an image on a conductor that's going to be taken and used as the image for the machine. Really great feature that makes a lot of sense if you are using a single conductor to kind of stamp out identical nodes using standalone Ironic. Well, what was discovered by Julia is that we had no restrictions whatsoever around what files we would image to a disk if you gave us a file URL. So that would mean that you could go and put any file that the Ironic conductor could read and image it to a disk. Now, in practice, even if you're in that narrow config setup where you're vulnerable to this, we're using standalone Ironic, where you have users who have direct deployment access to the Ironic API, even if you've got both of those in place, as long as you're using a default style security configuration for Ironic, that means you're using automated cleaning. The likelihood of this actually being able to be exploited alone is nearly zero. It is a concerning bug, though, because it can be used as kind of one hop in a multi-stack attack. So that's the reason we were concerned about it. We filed the CVE-1 to let folks know. And the reason in practice it's not really that exploitable is quite simply, when Ironic images a disk, one of the final things it does is it takes a look at the partition table, checks some bootloader things, just making sure that the machine is ready to go. And in this case, or anytime really when you're deploying an image that doesn't have a valid partition table, Ironic is going to fail that deployment at the last minute. And so that node will never get handed over to a customer. If you have automated cleaning enabled, the default that we recommend, then that's going to immediately get kicked through a cleaning process, and whatever nefarious data might have gotten written to that disk will be erased automatically. So what we did to fix this was we have done one thing that we're backporting, and we've done two things for Ironic releases moving forward. The part of this hardening fix that has been done that is backportable, that we backported through to all of the supported and some of the unsupported or unmaintained Ironic branches, we've got patches up for them already. And all of these are going to contain a new configuration option, comp.conductor.file URL allowed paths. And what this is this is a list of file paths. They have to be absolute. So no tossing a dot in there or anything. We're blocking that entirely. But you can configure this new setting in a way that allows you to permit only the places you care about. And if you look at the defaults in the backport, it might seem a little bit weird because we have a long list of what seem like seemingly random URLs. Well, as part of our promise to try as hard as we can not to break people, went ahead and checked out, all of our documentation, all of our automated installer stuff, like for Bifrost or What Metal 3. And we made sure that all of those that might utilize file paths were in the default, because we didn't want anyone who used kind of an out-of-the-box configuration we told them to get broken by this security fix. So there's a lot of paths you might not expect in there because, things that are made for containers often don't follow the Linux file system standard, but that's okay. We did it that way because it's back portable, and we may actually change that default to be more restrictive in the future. But we also did a second piece that's going to be coming out in the Flamingo release, or if you're running, Ironic Master, you run one of our bug fix releases, you'll get it a little bit faster. But in addition to this new config, we have universally forbidden. There's no way to disable this behavior. There's no knob for this. You can never use a file inside etc/run /boot /dev/sys or /proc as your deployment image. We hope that doesn't break you, because it would be a pretty wacky setup to have your files in there and going forward. So just, if you're doing something weird or interesting like that, make sure that you're aware of that and that you fix your paths before you go on to the next release of Ironic. So again, we're going to summarize real quick. Ironic, CVE-2025-44022, OSSA-2025-001. Ironic was failing to restrict the paths for file image URLs. Any users of Ironic who are using Ironic in a standalone manner or using Ironic's node owner functionality to permit users access to their nodes need to harden against this vulnerability in order to avoid, conductor files potentially ending up on server disks, even if for a little while. So good luck. Please get patched up. If you're interested in, building infrastructure and getting all of this done, G Research is always hiring smart people in the Dallas, Texas, and the London, England areas. So if you live in the UK, if you live in Texas and you're looking for a good experience, good job, take a look at gresearch.com/vacancies. We'll make sure that's linked in the description down below. I'll also provide a link to this OSSA and any other related information. But for now, I'm Jay Faulkner on behalf of everyone over here at Gross. Have a nice day.